Okay, so the lesson is being recorded. Again, like always, like I like to start the lessons. What are the confluences? Come on. Sorry, I just want to. First confluence, come on, without losing time. Market structure, great. Second confluence. FIB, great. I see everyone is very active. FIB, third confluence. Supply and demand. Fourth confluence. Liquidity, great. Now extra confluences. The order here doesn't really matter. Point of control, yes. Fair value gap, I've always called them imbalance, therefore I'm going to name it imbalance. And what else? Session liquidity, great. Okay, now knowing this, let's go ahead and just look at all of the setups that have been going on. Okay, we have this. Let's just go over all of the setups that have been going on these days following these confluences. Okay, so this one was the first one. Again, London opening more or less this time. So this is when I come to the office. As soon as I come to the office, I start looking for these confluences. As we already looked through this setup, I'm just going to go very fast. Okay, so market structure. Again, we had a change of character here. We already went over this setup. We have a change of character. Okay, very, very straightforward. A change of character. FIB, we throw our FIB from the high to the low. There we go. Supply and demand, we had this 5-minute supply zone right inside our premium area of FIB. And liquidity, here we had two liquidity, okay? Well, this was the session liquidity. So no, we only had internal liquidity on this setup. Let me just go a bit forward. Okay, price left on the 1 minute, in this case, price left this trendline liquidity right below the zone. Okay, this is just following the confluences. This is the trade we took on Monday. Again, point of control, we see if it matches. This is just an extra confluence. In this case, it does not match, somewhere down there. Session liquidity, as I was saying this morning, the highs during the overlap between London and Tokyo, I do not count them. Okay, I do not count the high. I count as session liquidity the highs left during the overlap of Sydney and Tokyo, and only Tokyo. Okay, when it's the overlap with London, I do not consider it anymore the Asian high, which means, following this rule I just said, this is the Asian high, which price already took it out. Okay, I already took it out, then gave the confluences. So imbalance, did we have an imbalance? Let's see, on the 5-minute, doesn't look too clear. On the 1 minute either. So we had five of the 7 confluences. Okay, this is how it played out. Remember, we entered right here. Okay, and there you have it. Then, as soon as price starts consolidating, I'm just going to stick onto the 5-minute time frame. I think it was right around here. We could also argue we had a potential setup. Okay, this one I did not take. But if we look at this consolidation, we look at this break of structure with loads of volume. So when I say market structure, remember, I also mean consolidation. So I also count consolidation followed by a break either side. I also count it as market structure, okay? So for example, right up here, we could also argue price consolidated on this area, then break to the downside with volume. So again, consolidation right here, break to the downside with volume, break to the downside with volume. We throw our fib from the high to the low. This is the high, this is the low. We look for a supply zone inside the discounted area. This one is a good one, okay? And if we were to look for liquidity, let me go into the 1 minute. Let's see, we have, well, we could say price was creating inducements here, and also price created this liquidity, which it ended taking it out, all of it, okay? Then taking out this high. Oops, not this. Okay, so we could argue we have these 4 confluences, point of control. Let's see. Where is it? We had the point of control pretty close to the zone. See on the 5 minute. We had the point of control pretty close. Okay, we could argue maybe there's volume around here, not really matching. Imbalance. Did we have an imbalance? Yes, we actually did have an imbalance right here. This tiny thing, we had an imbalance, so we could have perfectly entered on this zone, on this rejection, okay? And session liquidity, let's see, I don't think we had any. No, we did not have any session liquidity. So pretty much, again, same confluences as this setup from right up here. Exactly the same confluences. And in this case, we have market structure, fib, supply and demand, liquidity. Remember this inducement, also we could call this as liquidity. A point of control, we did not have. An imbalance, we did have. So we had, again, 5 of the 7 confluences, and this one I did not take, obviously, but just an example as how you could be flowing through the market with the setups, played out very nice. Then another one we did take, I think was somewhere around this area. Oh, we did take this one, I'm not sure now. Hold on, let me just see. So this time I'm sleeping, at this time I'm not trading. So I am not looking for these confluences at this time of the day. Let's see. This case, here, remember we took a loss. Pretty much I was looking for the same confluences. So we had this, here we took the 27 pip loss. We had this change of character followed by a break of structure. You know, I like the sequence. Oops, not the ruler. We had this sequence, change of character, break of structure. I marked out, I think it was this demand zone right inside. Liquidity, we had all of this liquidity. This was a pretty decent setup, okay? Though we took a loss, we had all of the confluences as well. No imbalance. And let's see, session liquidity. We had plenty of session liquidity, but now you will see why this one failed. Okay, this one, price just flew through the zone. Okay, just destroyed the zone. We took the loss here, if you remember. Price targeted the New York liquidity from the other day. And then we took a winning trade following the same confluences. I think it was right here. Smaller picture, but again, same confluences. I think it was right here. Let's see. somewhere here. Okay, yeah. Again, following the same confluences, just in this part of the chart. Market structure overall, it's bearish, and we had this change of character right here. Had this change of character with loads of volume. Okay. We drew our FIB. We drew our FIB. Then we look for our supply and demand zones. In this case, the best supply zone I can find is this one right here. Okay. Liquidity, let's see, liquidity. Price was creating some liquidity right here. Price was creating some liquidity right here. Then point of control, let's see, did not match. It's not nowhere to be seen. Session liquidity, no session liquidity, but we had an imbalance right there. An imbalance right there. So we had again 5 of the 7 confluences. Look, if we now trace the FIB lines up almost perfectly with the zone. And the price just played around here on the zone for a while. Then gave the move. Pretty much looking at the same confluences. Then there was no more trading until the next day. So let's wait until next day morning. Okay, so here we are. And not yet, hold on. Okay, so this was more or less when I started analyzing. So first sell we took, or the sell we took was right here. Pretty much the same. Change of character. Okay, where are the confluences? Change of character followed by break of structure. Price leaves this liquidity right here. Price leaves this liquidity right here. Sorry, I forgot, went too fast. We have the FIB. Okay, we have the supply zone inside the FIB area. This candle right there. So market structure, FIB, supply zone inside the FIB area. Liquidity, we obviously have this liquidity. Point of control, let's see if it matched. Did not match. Imbalance, we had this imbalance right here. Well, actually very, very tiny imbalance. Okay, if you see price mitigated most of it. Session liquidity, we did not have session liquidity. Oops, not this. We did not have session liquidity in this case. So again, we had 5 of the 7 confluences. And this is how it played out. Price then came back. And then another great setup I saw many of you pointed out, which I want to go over it. Okay, which was a great setup, was the buy setup from this area. Why was it great? Because we had external liquidity take and internal liquidity created within these confluences, which means this, for anyone that's new, for anyone that hasn't looked at any other lesson, it might be a bit confusing, okay? But if you look at all of the lessons and then you look at this lesson, you will find complete sense in it. So again, if we go right here, market structure for a buy on this area with the same confluences, market structure, price breaks right here to the upside. Okay, we draw our fib from the high to the low. We draw our demand zone inside the fib. Okay, liquidity. Let me go a bit further. So again, could say all of this is liquidity. Price is creating a liquidity pool right down here. Shame I did not take this buy because this one was a perfect setup. Point of control, let's see. Did not match. Imbalance on the 5 minute, there's no imbalance. On the 15 either. And session liquidity, there was session liquidity, but it was this session liquidity. So if we go onto the if we look at this indicator, as you can see, we had price took out this New York liquidity from the day before, which means there was already a session liquidity takeout. Okay, so this was the session liquidity. So again, 5 of the 7 confluences for a buy on this zone, and this is how this zone would have played out. Shame I did not take it because this was a perfect setup. The price comes to the zone, barely touching the fib level, and this one just spiked up also with CPI. Price just flew. So yeah, pretty much, do you see how you can be flowing through the market with the setups? Is it clear, guys? Is this clear? Yes, 100. Yes, yes, yes. Great. Let's see. Some people are drawing. Let me delete it. Okay, so as you see all the time, same confluences. These 4 are a must. Okay, these first 4 are a must. These 3 are extra confluences. Always having one at least of these 3 adds, at least for me, more trust to the setup. Okay, to the trade. And yes, you can see if we just go back here again, pretty much the same on a smaller picture. Again, the same. And again, the same. We took this trade, and a sell from here. We took a sell from this area, which again, this is why it's so important to manage the trades properly, because most of the times before every big move, there is this setup happening, okay, this sort of setup happening, but sometimes no. That's why it's very important to manage the trades properly. So in this case, this is the trade we took. I'm not sure where the stop loss was, something 0.7. This is the trade we took. Sometimes you will get an entry, for example, right here. It was the exact same setup as this one right here we looked at before, and price took off 300 pips. But price won't always take off that big amount. That's why I always like to take profits following risk to reward. So as soon as price gives a 1-to-1, you take profits. If you want to assume the risk, then you might leave the same stop loss and look for the next take profit. If not, as soon as first take profit, you can also secure. Then look for second take profit, and so on, okay? And yeah, this is pretty much how you could flow through the markets. Let's see. Yes, top, nice. Of course, Alex, the question. You focus 5 minutes more often than 15 minutes. This is a good question. This really depends, and this varies, okay? It depends where and when the market is giving the setups, okay? For example, in this case, these days, price is giving the setups, or at least based on what my eyes are seeing, price is giving the setups more often on the 5 minute time frame. Therefore, I'm sticking to the 5 minute. There's other times where we only trade the 30-minute time frame. As I said, these setups, these confluences, you will find them on absolutely any time frame. You just have to find out which one works out for you the best and just be adapting to the markets constantly. Okay. Nice, of course. Yes, all good. Crack. Thank you. I was so proud to find that setup. It's a great milestone. Very good. Congrats. As I say, guys, these are, if you go back the past year, all of the lessons, everything I've been teaching has been exactly the same over and over and over. These confluences, mixing them up and spotting trades, following them. It has always been the same over and over and over and over. Just study it and practice, 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 because the setups are happening all the time. Okay, for example, again, going back to why it's so important to manage the trades properly. If we go here, we also could argue price has given a change of character. Oops, sorry, not this. Wait, hold on. Wait, I'm going to do a thing. Save as confluences. Because the setups are happening all the time and in all directions. That's why it's very important that you manage as well properly your trades. So if we do the same right here, we could also argue a change of character, break of structure, okay, trace our fib, liquidity, this liquidity, supply zone inside the discounted area or premium in this case because we're selling. We also have here an imbalance which was mitigated. In this case, we had 4 of the 5 confluences, I can already tell. Yeah, we had 4 of the 5 because the imbalance was already mitigated, and price still gave a decent reaction to the zone. Okay, just looking at the same confluences, gave a very decent reaction to the zone, but then it just flew past it. Okay, but this is why it's so important that you manage your trades properly instead of being greedy and trying to get the last euro from the market. Okay, if you manage your trades properly, you will be entering on this zone. Okay, you will be entering on this zone. At 1-to-1, you might take profits or secure, maybe if you want to hold a bit longer. 1-to-2, this case, this trade gave a 1-to-3, okay? Still a great setup. 1-to-3 risk to reward is great. But it's very important that you manage your trades properly because maybe you were not aware that price was giving the other setup we looked at, okay? Which was the other setup we looked at, which was this one right here, okay? Because again, as I say, setups are happening all the time and in all directions. That's why it's very important that you manage your trades properly. Because sometimes you are following, for example, this sell setup, but you haven't realized that price is giving this buy setup from here, okay? Yes, I only use this level of fib, guys. I only use this level of fib. Where is it now? Where did my favorite tools go? Only look at this level of fib. It's the only level I'm interested on. Got the trade. I see some people saying trade activated. It did not activate mine. So do you have any question on the setups? How do I determine daily bias? I just look at the market structure, at the recent market structure. Where is the volume? Where are these candles, okay? Breaks of structure with volume, that's pretty much what I'm looking at. Price did not activate my order by very, very, very little pips on today's setup. Hold on. Did not activate my order by very little pips. Price came to the zone. Could have placed the order right here on the tip of the zone, but I was trusting that price again. Be patient. I was trusting that price would go closer to the FIB level, okay, inside the zone. Would approach a bit more the FIB level. So I'm going to be patient. Again, I've had a very good week. I don't want to give anything back to the markets. How do I find the limit pending orders? I place them at the tip of the zones. In this case, in today's setup, I was looking at this low right here. Just place them at the tip of the zone. This case 0.5, stop loss right above, and that's it. Okay, very, very straightforward. And then just follow risk, trade management. Oops. Yeah, on my IC markets, broker price came extremely close. So yeah, do you have any other question on the setups, guys? Have any other question on the setups? Let me know. Yeah, market structure, I look for change of character and break of structure. Sometimes I like the sequence of change of character followed by break of structure. If not, only one is okay. For example, on the big sell we took the other day, the one from right up here, we only had a change of character. We only had this change of character. Okay, no BOS. But sometimes that sequence is good when price creates a change of character followed by a break of structure, creates liquidity above plus all of the other confluences. You can also find a good trade. And yeah, guys, any other question, let me know and I will be answering it. Session liquidity, no, it's an extra confluence. These 4 confluences will give you a setup. These 3 will add more trust to the setup. Shame I did not place my order on the tip of the zone. Shame I did not place my order on the tip of the zone. I was trusting price was going to come closer to the FIB. Was trusting price was going to come closer to the FIB level, which I'm not discarding yet. Guys, there's plenty of lessons on change of character, break of structure, but so many throughout the vault. I'm not going to go over again these concepts because I've just covered them way too many times on liquidity and so on. Guys, you have to study everything I share, okay? You can't expect to be making money in the markets if you're not even studying everything I share. Okay, sorry, no, you don't have to be sorry, guys. But yeah, just study everything, okay? Don't try to skip steps or whatever. By 1.5 pips, price did not trigger. But yeah, I'm still waiting on it. Still waiting on it. Okay, guys, so is there any other question? How do you spot liquidity? Again, Christina, there's at least, I've talked about that at least 20 times on the lessons of the vault. Today's lesson was on going over the setups, liquidity, highs and lows, above or below our supply and demand zones, where we interpret people are placing their stop losses, and we are just hoping for price to take them out and give us our entry. Okay, basically where there are orders. So for flip high and low, which time frame is suitable? Any time frame, guys. Setups happen on absolutely any time frame. Again, I see many of you haven't looked at any other lesson or haven't looked at the lessons of the vault, guys. I really recommend you go over them, because most of the questions you're asking are explained plenty of times. Where's the take profit? Again, I take profits following risk to reward. Take profits following risk to reward. Just don't understand how liquidity looks on the chart. So very straightforward. Highs and lows above or below the zones. For example, as you see right here, price created. Well, I'm going to stop recording, okay, now, and I will explain the liquidity and so on, because I've explained it multiple times, and if not, the lessons get too long and people don't watch them. So yeah, I'm going to stop recording and answer these liquidity questions and so on. So stopping the recording now.